Meet Marcus. He's a senior fintech developer who's spent years building systems for others. But today, his own system is about to whisper a secret. For Marcus, life has always been about the logic of the trade. Code, calculate, repeat.
His salary is great. His credit score? Impeccable. He's the model of financial readiness. But wealth isn't just about what you earn. It's about what your earnings do while you're busy coding.
He decides to take a quick peek at his personal investment portfolio before the 9 a.m. stand-up meeting.
The numbers look different today. The compounding effect has finally reached its tipping point.
He does a quick mental calculation. Then he does it again, just to be sure. Yesterday, his stocks made more than his daily rate as a senior developer, quietly, without a single line of code.
It's a strange feeling. The realization that you are no longer the primary breadwinner in your own life.
His manager is talking about quarterly deadlines. Marcus listens, but the weight of the stress feels lighter.
When your money works harder than you do, the nature of your job changes instantly.
He's been planning this for years. A premium property, a legacy, and now the math is finally on his side. He remembers the late nights and the aggressive saving, the times he chose invest over spend.
The transition isn't loud. There are no fireworks, just a quiet shift in the balance of power.
He doesn't have to be here. He chooses to be here. And that makes all the difference.
While he sleeps, while he eats, while he codes, the machine grows.
The day job pays the bills, but the investments are building the kingdom. Everything is in place. The credit, the capital, and the cash flow.
The goal for 2026 isn't just a dream anymore. It's an inevitability.
This is only the beginning. When your income beats your job, the real game starts. See you in part 2.
It started as a trickle. A few dollars here, a small dividend there. Nothing to write home about.
But as a fintech developer, I knew how to read the patterns. The math was starting to shift. For years, my salary was the giant, and my investments were the shadow. This month, the shadow grew tall.
It was the first time they were neck and neck. My money was working as hard as I was.
Every line of code I wrote earned me my living. But my capital, it didn't need to type a single word.
While the world outside chased the clock, I was building a machine that ignored it.
I used to drink this coffee to stay sharp for the 9 to 5. Now, I drink it to plan for 2026.
Usually, a notification like this would trigger a spike in my heart rate. Stress was the default. But today, it felt optional. Not because I wouldn't do it, but because I didn't have to.
My 2026 property goal wasn't just a dream anymore. It was a mathematical certainty. Wealth isn't about the noise you make. It's about the silence you can afford.
I realized that even if I stopped today, the momentum wouldn't. The machine was already in motion.
10 in the morning. The markets had been open for 30 minutes, and I'd already earned my daily rate.
The leverage had shifted. I wasn't selling my time anymore. I was managing my freedom.
There it was, another small victory, another brick in the foundation of 2026.
I still do the work. I still write the code. But the desperation is gone.
When your money beats your job, the job becomes a choice. And that choice is the ultimate luxury.
I can see the future clearly now. It's built on compound interest and steady nerves. The day job pays the bills, but the investments are building the empire. Part 2 was just the beginning. Marcus had spent years building other people's financial systems, but today, his own system was starting to speak back. In the world of finance, they call it the crossover point, the moment your money earns more than you do. He did the math again, then a third time. The numbers didn't lie, but his brain refused to accept them. That can't be right. A single monthly dividend payout had just landed. It was more than his bi-weekly paycheck from the firm. It wasn't just one lucky trade. It was the collective weight of years of disciplined property and stock investments.
For the first time in his career, the day job felt like an optional side quest.
I'm working because I want to, not because I have to.
The quiet growth had finally turned into a roar. His capital was now a more efficient worker than he was.
The pressure of the corporate ladder suddenly felt lighter. The impeccable credit score was just the foundation. This was the skyscraper.
His dream property wasn't a maybe anymore. It was a when. See you soon.
The urgency of the office no longer dictated his heartbeat.
Wealth isn't about buying things. It's about buying time. And Marcus just bought a lifetime's worth.
The first few years were a grind, but now the momentum was unstoppable.
The snowball finally hit the slope.
He realized his money was making an hourly wage while he slept, and it didn't need a coffee break.
This was the secret he'd been working toward. The quiet victory that changes everything. Now came the most important question of his life. What do you do when you don't have to do anything?
Success didn't feel like a loud party. It felt like this: quiet, solid, and certain.
The world was suddenly much smaller, and his reach was much longer.
Maybe sooner than I thought.
For the rest of the afternoon, he wasn't a developer. He was an owner.
When your income beats your job, the job becomes a choice. And Marcus was choosing to build an empire. It finally happened. The quiet transition from working for money to money working for him. Everything changes now. It started as a trickle, a few dollars here, a small dividend there. But Marcus Thorne knew the power of compounding better than anyone.
One line represented his grueling hours as a developer. The other, his money working while he slept. The gap was closing.
Then, a notification appeared that changed everything. A quarterly dividend payout from his REIT holdings had just hit. For the first time in his life, the passive income for the month didn't just supplement his paycheck. It rivaled it. Dividends, interest, and rental income. Every stream was flowing in the same direction, toward his freedom. He remembered the long nights of coding, the overtime, and the strict budgeting. It was finally paying off in a way he hadn't fully dared to imagine. The chaos of the financial world felt distant. Inside this room, everything was calculated and calm.
He did the math again. The yield was actually higher, by exactly $412.
He had reached the quiet crossover. His wealth was now more productive than his labor.
The sunset didn't signal the end of a workday. It signaled the beginning of a new way of living.
This wasn't about quitting. It was about choice. The power to say no to anything that didn't align with his vision.
He began to run the numbers for the next 5 years. If the crossover held, the growth would be exponential.
By 2026, he wouldn't just be comfortable, he would be untouchable. A premium property investment was now a mathematical certainty.
His passive income was the key that unlocked the door to the next level of real estate. Precision was his superpower. He adjusted the variables, accounting for every possible market shift. It wasn't just about the money. It was about the time to see the world on his own terms.
He was optimizing his final contributions for the year, ensuring every cent was deployed for maximum impact.
Usually, an email like this would trigger a spike of cortisol. But tonight, it felt different.
He would get to it, eventually. For now, he was focusing on his own empire, not someone else's.
When your investment income quietly beats your day job, the world doesn't change, but the way you walk through it does. It started as a small gap, a curiosity on a spreadsheet. But today, the numbers are telling a much louder story.
My day job as a fintech developer pays well, very well. But my investments? They've started moving with a life of their own.
For the first time this month, the passive yield from my portfolio didn't just supplement my salary, it actually surpassed it.
It's a strange feeling. The pressure to perform for a paycheck is dissolving, replaced by a quiet sense of absolute control. Another deposit. While I was debugging a legacy system, the markets were working overtime for me.
One screen represents 8 hours of specialized labor. The other represents years of disciplined capital allocation. I've reached the tipping point, the quiet beat, where the money I've saved is more productive than the man who saved it.
Most people wait for a retirement age to feel this. I'm 30, and the race is already changing its rules.
The 2026 property market isn't a hurdle anymore. It's a playground. My readiness is no longer theoretical.
When your investment income beats your salary, you stop looking at prices and start looking at value.
The irony? I'm actually better at my job now. Because I'm doing it because I want to, not because I have to.
There's a power in knowing you can walk away at any moment. That power translates into the best work of my career.
I'm not just a developer. I'm the CEO of my own capital. And the CEO is having a very good quarter. The vision is clear. The property investment in 2026 isn't just a dream, it's a mathematical certainty. It's a quiet victory. No one at the office knows. No one on the street can tell. But the ledger never lies. External chaos doesn't reach me here. Financial independence is the ultimate firewall. When your passive income quietly beats your day job, the world opens up. You stop asking how much and start asking why.
This is the result of 5 years of strategy. This is why I chose the path of the fintech investor.
You don't need to shout your success. The most powerful wins are the ones that happen quietly on your own screen.
The day job is just the beginning. The investment is the legacy. And today, the legacy took the lead.
It finally happened. The crossover point I'd been tracking for 5 years finally arrived.
The passive income from my real estate and fintech stocks was now officially higher than my monthly paycheck as a senior developer.
It wasn't just about the money. It was about the silence, the quiet end of needing to work. Normally, an urgent tag would spike my cortisol. But today, it felt optional. I realized my investment income wasn't just a safety net anymore. It was the floor I stood on.
During the stand-up meeting, I listened to the team stress over deadlines. For the first time, I felt like a spectator.
It'll be ready. I've already mapped out the logic.
The irony is, when you don't need the money, you actually do better work. You're not rushing for a bonus, you're building for excellence.
Every tick of the clock was now adding to my wealth, even while I sat here designing someone else's platform.
The city looked different. It didn't look like a place where I was trapped. It looked like a playground.
I remembered starting with just $1,000 and a lot of discipline.
Compound interest is a slow burn until it becomes a wildfire.
There was no rush to finish the cup. There was no rush for anything anymore.
I could finally afford to fail at my own dreams, which meant I was finally free to start them. Success doesn't always roar. Sometimes it just feels like a well-made sweater and a quiet room. It wasn't a resignation letter. It was a strategy for my second act. The clarity was intoxicating. I knew exactly where I was going. For the first time in my life, the money was working harder than I was. The day job was done for the evening. But the investments? They never sleep. I walked away from the desk knowing that tomorrow I'd be even wealthier than I was today. And I didn't have to lift a finger. Stepping away from the screens doesn't mean the engines stop running. In the quiet of the night, the portfolio is still breathing. For years, I traded hours for dollars. But the script has flipped. Now, my capital is trading seconds for stability. It's a strange feeling when you realize that your side hustle, your passive strategy, is no longer just side income. While I was coding for the firm today, these assets were working double shifts. No coffee breaks, no burnout.
And there it is, the crossover point. The moment the silent employee earns more than the boss.
If I didn't log in tomorrow, I'd still be making progress. That's the real definition of financial freedom. It's not about laziness, it's about leverage. It's about making every dollar I've ever earned go out and find more friends. The curve starts slow, almost flat. You feel like you're doing nothing. Then, it hits the elbow. I spent 10 hours in there today building a fintech platform for $1 billion bank. My portfolio didn't spend a single minute, yet it kept pace. Money is the best employee you'll ever have. It never sleeps, it never complains, and it never asks for a raise.
Another one. A quiet notification that adds another brick to the fortress.
Most people notice the noise of a paycheck. I've learned to value the silence of a dividend.
When your passive income exceeds your living expenses, you're free. When it exceeds your salary, you're wealthy.
It's a quiet revolution. No one at the office knows. No one on the street sees it. But everything has changed. The weight of the what-ifs is gone. The property investment in 2026 isn't just a dream anymore. It's a mathematical certainty.
The city is full of people racing for the next promotion. I'm just racing against my own previous benchmarks.
Calculated risk is just another word for a well-placed bet on my own future.
I'm going back in, not because I have to finish the project to survive, but because I want to finish it to excel.
Work becomes a choice when your assets are already doing the heavy lifting. This is the sound of success. It doesn't scream. It just grows, quietly beating the clock.
It started as a quiet hum in the background of my life, but today, the numbers spoke louder than my alarm clock.
For the first time, my money wasn't just working, it was outperforming me. My passive income had officially overtaken my day job's daily rate.
The pressure that had sat on my shoulders for years suddenly felt lighter. The need to work was transforming into a choice to work. While I was debugging code for my firm, my portfolio was busy collecting rent and dividends from across the globe. My salary was a ladder, stable but fixed. My investments? They were a forest, growing even while I slept. I found myself working better. Not because I had to, but because the desperation was gone. This wasn't just about numbers on a screen. This was about the premium property investment I'd planned for 2026. It was becoming a reality.
Even my advisor was impressed. The strategy we set years ago was hitting its exponential phase.
There's a specific kind of confidence that comes when you realize you no longer fear a layoff or a bad quarter.
With my finances on autopilot, my focus at work reached a level I hadn't felt since I was an intern.
The delta, the difference between what I spent and what I earned, was now a canyon. When your investments beat your job, urgent requests from the boss don't trigger a heart attack anymore. Success isn't always a loud celebration. Sometimes it's just the quiet feeling of high-quality stability.
The snowball was finally big enough to roll on its own. I just had to stay out of its way.
I realized I was no longer trading my time for money. I was using my money to buy back my time.
In the dark, the green glow of my portfolio felt like a beacon, leading me to the next chapter.
It was time to move from theory to execution. The premium property wasn't a dream anymore. It was an upcoming task.
My wrist confirmed what my heart already knew. The transition was complete.
I thought about where I was 5 years ago. The difference wasn't just the money. It was the mindset. I logged off, not because the work was done, but because I was finally the one in control of the clock. The silence of the office used to mark the end of an exhausting day. Now, it marks the beginning of something much bigger. For years, I traded hours for dollars. But the numbers on this screen tell a different story now.
The realization hits quietly. My investments aren't just growing, they're outpacing my salary.
It's a strange feeling when your money works harder than you do at your 9 to 5.
That's the tipping point. That's the moment the game changes forever.
It wasn't luck. It was a strategy built on discipline and the right tech.
I used to feel chained to that desk. Now, it's just a place where I execute my vision.
The pressure to perform for a paycheck is dissolving into the horizon.
I remember the late nights when this dream felt like a fantasy. But every sacrifice led to this clarity. The math doesn't lie. When you win the money game, you get something more valuable than cash: time. And with that time, I'm looking at the next move: a premium property for 2026. I'm not just buying a home, I'm securing an asset that reflects my new reality. The environment you build for yourself should inspire the next level of your growth. Success doesn't always have to be loud. Sometimes it's just a quiet evening in a room you own. The quiet in quietly beating your day job is the best part. But I'm not done yet. This is just the foundation for the next decade. My work is now a choice, not a requirement. That is the ultimate freedom.
I'd tell that guy it was all worth it. Every single cent invested.
Now, let's see what happens when the income doesn't just beat the job, but replaces it entirely.
The moment you realize your side hustle dividends have quietly surpassed your salary, the very air in your home feels different. It's not a loud victory. There are no sirens or fireworks, just the quiet weight of financial pressure finally lifting off your shoulders. Marcus remembered the early days of 2022, the small contributions and the discipline that felt like a sacrifice back then. Now, those sacrifices have transformed into a self-sustaining engine. He wasn't just working for money anymore. His money was working for him.
Another deposit. Another confirmation that his strategy for the 2026 property market was ahead of schedule.
The fintech world moves fast, but his personal wealth was now moving at its own steady, unstoppable pace.
The 9 to 5 was now optional. That realization is the ultimate luxury.
He realized that the quiet win is the loudest success a developer can achieve. He was no longer just dreaming of the next level. He was holding the keys to it. Below him, the city buzzed with people trading time for money. Marcus was finally trading his vision for freedom. He was grateful for the late nights and the complex code, but even more grateful for the patience to invest the rewards.
The data didn't lie. His investment income was now his primary engine. The job was just the fuel.
It was time to step out. Not because he had to, but because he wanted to. This home was the foundation. The next property would be the empire. True wealth is the ability to walk away from anything that no longer serves your growth. He wasn't just a senior fintech developer anymore. He was a master of his own destiny.
The transition was complete. The quiet win had become his new reality.
Your day job is the start. Your investments are the finish line. Don't stop until they swap places.
Marcus Thorne's journey to 2026 was no longer a plan. It was his life.
When your investment income quietly beats your day job, the real game finally begins. See you in 2026.